Good morning, good afternoon. A warm welcome to all our attendees today from across the globe. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar, where we'll be discussing leveraging the hybrid approach of mobile application development to extend your web apps to tablets and smartphones. This webinar is hosted by Impetus Technologies, partners in software R&D for global technology businesses. We're excited to have you with us for the next 40 minutes or so, where we're going to share with you the best practices of extending web apps, both enterprise and consumer, to tablets and smartphones. I'm Lisa Glenn, your presenter and host for today's session. The featured speaker for this session is Amitav Srivastava, Director of Mobile and Wireless from the Impetus Lab. So, moving on to what today's session is going to cover. Now, as I'm sure you've noticed, the new generation of mobile devices, tablets, and smartphones are rapidly overtaking PCs in Internet access. Morgan Stanley actually predicts that by 2021, there will be a five-fold increase to the 2 billion mobile Internet devices being used today. So it is vital for businesses to introduce the mobile versions of their enterprise, business, and consumer applications. Now, in this informative session today, we're going to share with you the best practices of extending your web apps to tablets and smartphones. There'll be a special focus on the hybrid application development as the recommended approach to accomplish this. This webinar is also going to compare the web, native, and hybrid approaches and discuss how the hybrid approach can effectively address the various mobility challenges that you might have. It's also going to showcase Impetus's hybrid solution approach, which includes the hybrid mobile application development maturity model, which is our instant framework Mobiliser. Finally, the maturity model encapsulates our best practices of the hybrid approach, and we'll discuss the framework, how it's a cost-effective solution that reduces the time to market and really offers high maintainability. So, moving on to the challenges of mobility. Unlike web development, which is limited to support a few browser families, developing a native application is fraught with challenges. Now, first of all, you have to deal with numerous mobile platforms such as iOS, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, J2ME, Symbian, and so on. Now, within each platform, we have multiple screen resolutions and form factors for which the application needs to be validated before the release. Now, these multiple platforms and form factors also lead to numerous code bases and builds that actually increase the development and maintenance costs of the mobile apps. The web applications are extended to tablets and smartphones with the aim to enhance their workflows and the overall turnaround time. However, data synchronization between the client and servers is one of the major challenges, and dedicated efforts usually are made to update the data on both sides. Now, another big challenge for mobile applications is network latency and low bandwidth. Product owners are often in a hurry to launch their product into that market. Testing ubiquity in terms of difference in the mobile device behavior within different operator networks, as well as multiple firmware versions, force the developers to test the build on different flavors of the device before the launch. Now, this, of course, is a very repetitive and very time-consuming task. Whenever a product owner makes a decision of expanding his product reach from the web to the tablets and smartphones, the first major issue he has to address is what approach to go in for. So he can choose to develop a sophisticated native app for each major mobile platform out there, or alternatively could produce a single but far less capable web app that would work on any device via its browser. Now, the key advantage of web apps over native mobile apps is that cross-platform compatibility. They would be able to run on standard compliant browsers on Android, Apple, BlackBerry, and Windows mobile devices. But on the other hand, they're not able to access device features such as the camera and address book, as well as some of those UI elements which are native to each platform. Also, these web apps can't be downloaded from app stores such as Apple's App Store or the Android market. So the only way to access them is by typing the web URL on the device browser. And because of this, their performance is limited by the available wireless bandwidth and device-specific browser capabilities. Now, if the product owner chooses that native approach, his mobile applications would be capable of being discovered and distributed via those app stores. The application binaries would work faster on the native OS and would allow all the device capabilities to be harnessed by the client app. But of course, these advantages do come with the cost of developing and maintaining multiple platform-specific native code bases that directly affect that time to market. So really, going native is the right approach only if you're a mobile product company and are developing a dedicated mobile product which is going to be embedded with the OEM device. So really, for most of the companies who are planning a tablet-based mobility strategy, we suggest that you take the best of both the web and native options and go right for the hybrid solution. On your screen right now, you can actually see an example of the hybrid app. So this approach uses web technologies for the view layer that provides platform independence. This view layer is actually embedded in a context-unaware native container app, which gives the performance power of the native platform and can also be distributed via those app stores. What happens is it embeds the browser field to render web pages whose UI are designed by leveraging the existing web presence. The app container has distinct options that allows it to integrate seamlessly with the native applications and really facilitates communication between native and HTML. And it also leverages the cloud-based enterprise services to procure the desired features. Also, the web pages can be bundled along with the application package or can be downloaded dynamically. So on your screen now, you can actually see a comparison matrix for those three mobility development approaches. Now, as we know, native applications offer rich user experience and persistence, but unfortunately, they are a costly affair. The cross-platform portability and eventually the maintainability of platform-specific solutions is just a major bottleneck. And even a small change in the business logic will need to be reflected on all the platforms uniformly, and this will lead to exhaustive efforts, combined with the need of deploying and pushing the new application version to all the different platforms. Now, the thin client approach, in contrast, is a cost-effective, maintainable, and cross-platform compatible approach that leverages the existing web presence. However, it really doesn't provide a rich user experience or any other benefits of native platform layer, such as backgrounding, push notification support, and compliance with that native look and feel. As we saw earlier, the hybrid approach combines the best of both of these worlds and really offers a unique solution that's not only cost-effective, maintainable, and cross-platform compatible, but it also offers spontaneity and support of a native platform layer. So really, hybrid is definitely the optimal approach. This approach supports the important aspects of native look and feel and state persistence and leads to an overall rich user experience, cost effectiveness, and is a highly maintainable solution. So, having compared the three approaches, as well as recommending the hybrid approach as the clear winner, we would just like to cement our recommendation by quickly presenting an example of the Facebook mobile app, which is one of the most successful hybrid apps being used today. So having started their mobile solutions from 2006, they've used development approaches from M-Sites, WebKit touch interfaces, as well as HTML5. And actually, as Facebook's engineering manager, Dave Fetterman, says in his transcript, quote, everything that is built into the native applications actually comes from the mobile web. Think of the way PhoneGap wraps a browser-based website, and that is how Facebook approached the problem. Now, back in 2006, building a mobile presence meant that you had a WAP deck that was based on an HTML application with SMS. And as we all know, mobile changed fundamentally back in 2007 with the revolutionary entry of the iPhone, followed by the entry of Android in 2009. Now, this resulted in building the application for these four platforms, thereby leading to increased development time and maintenance. Facebook then progressively enhanced its approach to use web in combination with Wurfel, Wireless Universal Resource File, a tool for mapping a user to a user agent set of capabilities. Using Wurfel actually got Facebook to the point where they were able to write the app once and run it anywhere across the web. Now, however, the interface still looked a whole lot like the M-Site with a browser look and feel. With all the major platforms supporting WebKit, Facebook then further tuned its approach to create a hybrid application. Now, this application focused on styling web code in a native frame which ensured that the device features, such as camera, address book, etc., could be used right from the native component end. The inconsistent functionalities, such as the newsfeed or profile timeline, were done in HTML. Now, a bridge was available for communication between the native and JavaScript, and to address any problems of the application's look and feel, as well as speed, solutions like scrolling tools, caching of web views, and intelligent lazy rendering of selected components were implemented. Now, though we do recommend choosing the hybrid approach, we would actually like to know your opinion as to what are the major challenges in adopting the hybrid approach. And you actually have the option to choose on the right of your screen, and your options are, first, usability and user experience, application performance, diversity in platforms and form factors, and application security. You have a total of 30 seconds to respond, and if you like, you can actually choose multiple options. Okay, so it looks like we have the responses, and it seems that the two favorite responses are actually performance as well as usability. Amitabh, can you comment on those poll responses?
Thanks, Lisa. Hello, audience. Even my experience is very similar while interacting with most of the people about the hybrid application. The major challenge that they say is the usability of the hybrid application on different platforms, and they are skeptical about the performance, whether it will match the native or not. In today's webinar, we'll present you some of the best practices to get over these challenges and resolve these problems.
Thanks, Amitabh. I'd just like to spend a couple of minutes actually explaining some of these challenges to you. Now, device diversity in terms of resolution and OS is really among the biggest hurdles in adopting the hybrid approach. And one particular resolution may have a different browser and markup capabilities across the OEMs. And as far as the smartphone segment, a range of solutions and rich feature sets are available, such as orientation switching, accelerometer, camera, etc. Now, in the case of a hybrid application, apart from leveraging native features and adding custom functionality, the on-device browser and markup capabilities do play an important role. An ideal hybrid application should really be able to support all the markups starting from XHTML-MP to HTML5. Now, as we know, tablets are a relatively new segment of handheld devices and are an ideal platform for any enterprise mobility applications due to their bigger form factor. A really good enterprise mobility solution must leverage that capability of tablets as well as the smartphones. Now, in case of hybrid application, the end users expect the application to match that native application user experience. Now, this can be provided only if the native UI interaction models are used instead of default web-based interaction models. Now, the performance of hybrid application should match that of native, but if the hybrid application fetches the web pages in runtime from the server and then renders it on the device screen, it will be slower than a native app. And just like the native application, the user would want all the device capabilities via hybrid application also, which does require deep interaction between device-native JavaScript codes running in the web view for features like camera and GPS sensors, etc. Now, security has also become a major challenge in case of the hybrid app, as JavaScript and web content are fetched from the server in runtime. Modifications to these scripts by any third entity apart from client and server may possibly harm the actual usage. Now, hybrid application actually provides a feature of upgrading itself in two modes. One is the complete application web plus native with any new binary deployment, and the other is just the web content without new binary deployment, which in itself is challenging to accomplish. Now, with our rich experience and expertise of creating those next-gen solutions for tablets and smartphones, we've actually identified some best practices that can directly help you in addressing all these challenges. I'd like to ask Amitabh to share them with you actually in these upcoming slides. Amitabh?
Sure, Lisa. So let me go ahead and tell you all about the best practices you should adopt in the design, implementation, and development of a hybrid mobile application. On the slide you see the best practices for the design phase, where we suggest analyzing the features from the mobility perspective. This would include the feature selection, the web interface, and UI and UX design. Let's discuss them one by one. The feature analysis step deals with the detailed analysis of the end-to-end solution, its strategy, and the target user base. We need to clearly understand here that what all features of the overall solutions need to support the mobility depending upon the real time and frequency of usage. It is also important to consider which type of native capabilities we expect from the target platforms and by using the web technology stack. This would help determine whether a hybrid is an appropriate fit for your web application or not. On to the feature selection. As the name indicates, it involves selecting the relevant features for the mobile application. We suggest choosing the appropriate use case that are frequently accessed by the target user on the go. This may include the ones that require real-time user input to smoothen the workflow and enhance the overall speed of the system and the decision making. Once the features are determined, we need to check if we have appropriate web services to retrieve the required information from the server. If not, we should suggest that you design them. A set of web services pertaining to the mobile target feature set should be created, which are often called the mobile gateway services. Now that we have decided on our mobile strategy, target feature set and the web interface, we can go ahead and design the user interface for the target platforms. The UI UX design needs to be done for each of the target form factor and mobile platform combination to ensure perfect user experience. JavaScript frameworks like Sencha Touch can be used to give device native UI look and feel. Different UI assets and markups can be bundled with the platform specific containers at the build time for optimal user experience. The native UI interaction model should be provided by the native container, which can be utilized by the web layer to provide enhanced user experience. Here the web UI interaction models should not be used. At this point in the design phase, it is also important to build the hybrid application infrastructure. It's very important to get this part right, as this will provide seamless integration of the business specific view layer and the context unaware native container. The native container should provide placeholders for extending the capabilities of the JavaScript layer wherever needed and expose the native device capabilities to the view layer. It should also have the infrastructure to support for over-the-air upgrade of the view layer, the caching of all the UI assets for enhanced performance and user experience. The diagram at the bottom of this slide shows the design phase, where the selected features of the web application, UI and UX are ported to the mobile form factors and embedded in the native container to form the hybrid application. The next phase is the implementation phase. There are 7 crucial considerations in this phase. The first one being that a single application code base should be achieved by using the web technology stack for implementing the core business logic. Furthermore, the native containers can be used to leverage the platform capabilities wherever required. The next consideration on the list is the responsibility delegation between the native and the web. We suggest that you carry out this in a manner that optimally utilizes the portability of the web content as well as the responsiveness and richness of the native feature set. While the majority of UI interactions can be handled by the web or the JavaScript layer, the calculation-intensive encryption, decryption could be shifted to the native layer to improve the application performance. The hybrid applications must support or have provision for white labeling and internationalization if the business demands it. Additionally, the performance of the hybrid application should match that of the native ones. It should maintain good responsiveness for the user workflows. The latency in server calls should also be covered by using local caching. Direct loading of web pages in the web container from the server should be avoided in runtime, as it will hamper the performance. And in a best practice of hybrid app development, we suggest to bundle all the web assets in the deployable build itself. This will ensure that the web pages are rendered locally and the data is fetched in runtime using AJAX calls. This would help us in achieving our goal of matching the performance of the hybrid app to that of native. The next factor here is security. The application must adhere to the security concerns by using secure HTTP channels or encryption while uploading and downloading sensitive personal data from the mobile gateway. Additionally, any offline caching or storage must be encoded for any sensitive data. All the executable JavaScript should be concealed to ensure that it cannot be manipulated by any external entity in the transit from the mobile gateway to the device. Battery life is yet another important consideration. If the application consumes a lot of battery, then it's likely to be rejected by the end user. We suggest that you observe the application and keep a check if any of the flows is leading to the extensive battery deterioration. If yes, then the positive cost may be the large number of the network calls, frequent opening and closing of the file IOs, or some extensive offline processing. The application should not depend on regular polling to the server for updates, but should subscribe to the push notification channels. This can help save the battery power and still receive the timely updates. And now moving on to our last consideration here in this phase, the app should provide for offline user experience. The application should ideally be able to work for selected important workflows even when there is no network connectivity or no connection to the backend mobile gateway. It should be able to commit the transactions offline and sync through the mobile gateway once the connectivity is back. It should also support push notifications. The server should have the capability to push important notifications, changes in the data points, and updates to the application even when the application is not running on the device. The diagram on the bottom of the slide that you now see is the implementation phase, wherein we see that the web and the business logic JavaScripts are embedded in the native container to form the hybrid application. This is carried out in a manner where the native container remains context unaware, but still provides all the UI interaction models and capabilities of the device backend to the hybrid application view layer. Moving on to the best practices of hybrid application for the deployment and the post-deployment phase. Here our first consideration is the certification. An app is required to be App Store ready at this level. To get this right, you have to ensure that all the important factors are considered properly in the initial phases itself. Most of the App Store mandates that the published app should have developer signed release that is well tested and meet the defined guidelines in order to ensure quality and reliability for the end users. At this point, it's important to have a good plan for build generation, submission, remote application administration, and upgrade strategy. After particularly evaluate the applications for reliability and performance. The review is done for every app on the App Store based on set of technical content design criteria as specified time to time in the App Store review guidelines from Apple. For Android, the popular store is the Android Marketplace, which sets the policies and best practices for export compliance, content and trademark infringement for the apps to be published on it. Versioning becomes a very important in this case of hybrid application, as it has two parts, the native container and the web view content, which needs separate versioning, because the hybrid application can be upgraded completely via the binary upgrade, or just its web content can be upgraded without change in binary. Distribution is yet another consideration. The application should be discoverable, distributable, upgradable via the target platform's App Store. If your application requires any type of third-party player application to be pre-installed on the device for it to work, then it should prompt the user to download the app as well as give the user its download link. The next consideration is that the application should be able to upgrade its existing features to incorporate minor to medium level changes that do not affect the native interaction needs of the overall mobility solution. The hybrid application should be developed in such a manner that the application's web content can be upgraded without the need of upgrading the app from the relevant app store. Any content upgrade that does not affect the native interaction needs or require the new capabilities incorporation in the app should be achievable in this method. The complete binary of the application is required to be upgraded only when the native capability utilization of the application is changed. Support for remote monitoring is the final consideration under this phase. The mobile application must provide support for monitoring of some important attributes like application overall usage, feature usage, foregrounding period. Remote monitoring may be very useful in application analysis for user experience, productivity, and future licensing decisions where large user base exists. The diagram that you now see on the slide shows that both the web and the hybrid app connects to the same backend server directly, and no middleware server is needed in runtime for the hybrid app to work.
Thanks, Amitabh. That was really helpful. Let me now share with you all a real-world example from one of our customers who actually is the leader in workforce management solutions. Now, their web-based workforce management solutions was a huge success with large enterprises, and the client wanted to extend the solution's reach to tablets and smartphones as well. Now, the client was interested in providing the solution to an entire spectrum of devices, all with different platforms and form factors. They included the iPad, iPhone, Android tablets and smartphones, and BlackBerry Playbook and smartphones as well. Now, if we would have decided to go with a native build on all those platforms, it would have resulted in a nightmare of managing 6 different code bases. So, we decided to opt for the hybrid approach with a single code base to support all the multiple platforms. So here we embedded web resources in the deployable build itself for enhanced performance, and device matching was achieved by using JavaScript frameworks like Sencha Touch. The platform-native user experience was provided by powering the UI interaction model from the native containers instead of the web. So this approach made it possible for our customer to reach the market faster with availability across those multiple device platforms and form factors without multiple application code bases, and it also gave them the ease of maintenance and extensibility. So, having discussed the best practices as well as that real-world example, I'd just like to share with you that we were able to implement all these best practices that we just discussed and developed a hybrid application development maturity model. And actually, you can see that model on your screen now. The model that you're looking at lays out the critical expectations and facilitates the design and development to be in sync with the significant features. We actually have developed this model based on our experience from our several projects and the tried and tested methodologies used in developing quality tablet and smartphone mobility solutions for our clients. So these 16 attributes are individually considered in various phases of the hybrid application development lifecycle, starting from the design and implementation to the deployment and post-deployment. So as you can see from the diagram, the model has 16 attributes distributed across 3 different levels. The first level signifies the basic level of hybrid applications that may be as simple as an application which just encapsulates some web pages that are rendered on the device using a native container. And then the second, or the more progressive level, denotes feature-rich consumer and enterprise applications that support dynamic feature upgrades and optimal balance between that web and native layer. Now, the third, or optimal level, signifies global apps that support multiple device platforms and also provides for an offline user experience powered by push notifications and facilitates remote monitoring, etc. Adopting this model has really enhanced our approach toward developing quality hybrid solutions, all at a reduced development cost. We here at Impetus have actually implemented this hybrid app approach, and we call it the Instant Mobiliser. It's actually a unique and really cost-effective solution that reduces the time to market and is able to offer high maintainability. The Instant Mobiliser offers a range of strategic components to choose from and to create customized solutions. And let me go ahead and give you just a few details. Its wizard helps generate cross-platform compatible hybrid applications For all major mobile platforms like iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry, the wizard can also be used for leveraging existing web presence. Just share with it the location of existing web resources, and it will actually extract information such as color themes, font styles, images, content, frames, interactive components, etc. from the web pages and use it for generating UI for other target devices. It also offers a smart visuals repository organizer that helps to optimally organize the UI for all platforms and devices. The Mobiliser renders suitable web pages as per the device capabilities. Also, the Mobiliser's communications layer on device side facilitates interaction among the native and HTML portions. It also helps in achieving native and custom applications feature usage from the Smart Hybrid app. And lastly, it facilitates the use of cloud-based services from within the Smart Hybrid applications. Now, some of the advanced features can also be integrated on a plug-and-play basis as per the application requirements. So on your screen now, you can see some of the key takeaways of today's session. So the first thing that we discussed is that the tablet and smartphone adoption is at its peak for business users and enterprises. It is really now essential that you think of a mobility strategy for your apps. And we believe that hybrid is definitely the optimal approach. This approach supports the important aspects of native look and feel and state persistence, and basically leads to an overall rich user experience, cost effectiveness, and is a highly maintainable solution. Now, while designing the hybrid app, we suggest using HTML5 and JavaScript frameworks like Sencha Touch to give a device native UI look and feel. And I just want to reiterate that different UI assets and markups can be bundled with platform-specific containers at the build time for optimal user experience. We also talked about how it's important that your hybrid application utilizes that portability of the web content as well as the responsiveness and richness of native feature sets. Now, while the majority of the UI interactions can be handled by the web JavaScript layer, the calculation-intensive encryptions and decryptions could be shifted to the native layer to improve the application performance. We also suggest that bundling all the web assets in the deployable build, as this really ensures that the web pages are rendered locally and the data is fetched in the runtime using AJAX calls. We also shared with you that all our hybrid mobile application development maturity model and that Instant Mobiliser framework. That maturity model actually encapsulates our best practices of the hybrid approach, and the framework is a cost-effective solution that significantly reduces that time to market and offers, again, high maintainability. Well, it looks like we've actually started to receive some of the questions from you, the audience, and I'd just like to remind you that you can actually use the chat panel on the right to ask any questions you might have. But before I take up those audience queries, I'd just like to take a moment to introduce Impetus Technologies to you. We develop innovative mobile solutions, software products, and technology solutions for mobile products and services companies, ISVs, and technology-enabled businesses. Our expertise spans the domains of mobility solutions, data analytics, large data management, SaaS, cloud computing, testing, performance engineering, and social media, among others. We offer technology experience on all kinds of mobile platforms and handsets and provide a range of value-added services around the same. We also create next-gen mobile solutions that are secure, reliable, scalable, and manageable. So it looks like we've got those questions come in, and I'm going to address these. Okay, it looks like the first question is, someone asked, I presume that hybrid applications will have a very mobile site type of UI, and can you tell us how to achieve native user experience using web technologies for the view layer? Amitabh, what do you think?
So we can use JavaScript frameworks like Sancha Touch to provide the platform native look and feel using the web technologies in the view layer. The native matching user experience can be further enhanced by using the native screen transitions, navigations, and UI interaction model instead of using the typical web-based buttons and the hyperlinks in the UI. And these things can be provided by the native container to match the look and feel of a hybrid application to that of native and provide better native looking user experience to the end users.
Okay, great question. It looks like someone else would like to know, are there any test tools or simulators available to test hybrid apps? Amitabh, what do you think?
Yeah, so hybrid app for all practical purposes is nothing but a native application. It's a pure native application that can be downloaded from the app stores, uploaded on the actual devices to run. And if you want to test it on simulators, you can test it on any of the native simulators provided by the OEMs. For example, the Apple SDK or the Android SDK.
Okay, great answer. Someone else would like to know, are there any concerns or issues relative to MDM solutions such as Good, which is container-based and as such restricts native access? What do you think?
So this depends on the hybrid framework that you utilize. In our solution model, the hybrid framework is capable of providing all the device capabilities of the native platform to the web solution. And there's a proper bridge that has been developed between the JavaScript and the native container to resolve this issue.
Okay, we got one more question here, and this person asked, what is the cross-platform development tool that you've used? Amitabh?
So, as we presented in the few slides before, we call it Mobiliser. It's our in-house own development instant mobilizer framework that utilizes HTML5, JavaScript, and JavaScript frameworks like Sancha Touch, jQuery, EXT.js to develop the view layer. And we have created powerful native containers on all the platforms which are context unaware, that are capable to provide all the native UI interaction models, all the native screen transitions, waits and movements to make your application look purely native, though it's a hybrid app.
Okay, another question just came in, and this person would like to know, how does developing a hybrid app affect the price? How does it, Amitabh?
So we covered it in the slide where we talked about the comparison of different development approaches. And you see the native application development is the most cost and time consuming thing because you have to develop separate code bases for the separate native platforms. But going hybrid, with any of the frameworks, you already have the native containers, mature native containers in place, and you just need to concentrate on your business problem. You just need to build a view layer with business logic in JavaScript that can be compiled with the native containers on multiple platforms and distributed via app stores. So building a hybrid application will always be a very cost-effective way and almost less than 50% of cost as compared to native.
Okay, great. Someone else asked, how do you handle the different levels of HTML5 support by different browsers? How do you do that?
So we have this capability in our framework to identify the user agents from the browser itself to get the different support levels of HTML5, CSS, and the JavaScript at that particular platforms. So in case of hybrid application, we do not do it in runtime. We generally do it at the build time where we generate a build for a particular platform, a particular device. And we deliver it through the app stores to those devices.
Okay, someone else would like to know, what are the advantages of the hybrid approach to a framework like jQuery Mobile?
So using jQuery Mobile, what you actually get is that you can develop a mobile site which is compatible with the look and feel. It's compatible in look and feel with the native platforms, maybe iOS or the Android on which you want to deliver. But in the hybrid application, what you actually do is that you bundle it, you compile it with the powerful native container that not only just provides the look and feel, it also provides the interaction model, the native transition effects, and the native user experience, plus the powerful capabilities of the native device like the camera, the location, the accelerometer, and all the sensors to the hybrid application, which is nothing but the HTML with JavaScript using jQuery or some framework like that.
Okay, we've got a few more questions here, and this one asks, how do you handle the different levels of HTML5 support by the different browsers?
Hey, I just replied the same question. So this is managed with the help of the user agents that we get from the devices.
How do you handle HTML5 CSS3 partial implementation issues across multiple platforms like iOS, Android, and BlackBerry?
Yeah, so we have a big knowledge base, a database where we actually identify it with a particular platform, a particular device, and while creating a build for that particular device, we take care of all of these things and then select the required markups and create a build. So these decisions are not taken in runtime. These are the decisions that we take at compile time when we actually generate a build and qualify it for a particular device before releasing it.
Okay. Another one here. This one asks, how can push notifications be used with hybrid applications?
So here, push notification usage with the hybrid application is very similar to native applications, because hybrid application is nothing but the web technology based view layer running within a native container. So the native container, any other native application is capable of getting the push notifications, which can be provided by the OEMs. For example, if it's an Apple application, the push notification services from Apple APNS are utilized. If it is an Android application, the C2DM services from Google are utilized to push any notification to the application which is already installed on the device and executed at least once by the end user when he has accepted the services and accepted the push services to be bring updates to its applications.
All right. I've got another question here, and someone would like to know, how do you combine native features of camera to jQuery Mobile?
So what we have done is we have built a framework, or we can call it a bridge between a JavaScript which is running in HTML. So it can be a jQuery, or it can be any simple JavaScript or Touch, any such script, which can give a facility to call the native feature from the native SDK, the native container that we provide. So we have the native implementation of the camera functionality. We can create a method with the name of that camera functionality and use the JavaScript layer to call that method. So that implementation is same across all different native containers that we have built on multiple platforms. So the same camera call from JavaScript will be capable of getting the camera on the Android device as well as on iOS device or any other platform where which are powered by our provided native containers.
Okay, it looks like we have time for about one more question, and this person asked, in hybrid applications, the entire view layer is rendered by the web view container rather than the OS directly, as in the case of native apps. What do you match the performance of hybrid with the native? How do you handle that?
So to match the performance of a hybrid application with the native applications, what we do is we try to bundle all the markups, images, CSS elements, and bundle them with the binary so that the web views will render them all locally, just fetching the live data from the servers using AJAX call dynamically in the runtime.
Okay, thank you so much. Those were some great questions, and that's all the time we have to answer those questions live. We will be addressing all the remaining questions that we received through email to all of you. I'd just like to thank our audience today for their time, and we really hope that this discussion was a learning experience for you and will add value to your mobility initiatives. If you have any other questions or queries regarding this webinar or that instant mobilizer tool, please email us at inquiry@impetus.com, or you can visit our website at www.impetus.com. Thank you all, and have a good day.